Okay, so let's unpack this deep dive. When most people think of Italian culture, they picture Renaissance frescoes and millennia-old
The
ruins.
beautiful static postcard version.
Exactly, the postcard version.
Yeah.
But the sources we have today show a country that's uh, actively redefining its cultural heritage
Yeah, they're moving it out of the museum case, so to speak.
and into the balance sheet, the hospital, and even the smartphone screen. It's fascinating.
It really is. It's this very modern challenge, isn't it? I mean, you have Italy, a country that holds an estimated 40% of the world's total artistic heritage.
40%. Just let that sink in.
And yet it's grappling with these deeply contemporary questions. How do you financially value something that's, priceless?
How do you fund it sustainably for the next 2 centuries?
And maybe most importantly, how do you apply that inherent beauty to a tangible societal good? So I think our mission here is to look at this whole transformation through three different lenses. Economic recovery, a really radical accounting reform, and then some surprising therapeutic applications.
Let's start with the economics then, because if you were wondering whether the cultural sector in Italy has recovered its stride post-pandemic, the answer is a resounding yes.
It is, but the deeper numbers, they do reveal some complex pressures.
So we're diving into the latest Federal Culture Report here, and the overall narrative seems to be one of, let's say, consolidation and comeback.
That's precisely what the data shows. After the severe challenges of the last few years, the industry has really entered a robust phase of recovery. You can see it immediately in consumer behavior.
Okay, so take household spending. In 2023, spending on culture, recreation, and sports, it rose by 10.1%.
Which on the surface seems massive.
It's a huge nominal jump, pushing average monthly spending past 101 euros.
But, and this is where the nuance hits, we have to adjust for inflation.
Oh,
If you look at average monthly spending across all sectors, it was up about 3.9%. But the real value, what people could actually buy with that money, was down 1.8%.
because of the high cost of living.
Exactly. So when we apply that same inflation adjustment to cultural spending, the real increase, it shrinks a lot.
So, wait, people spend 10% more euros, but in terms of purchasing power, they were really only consuming about 4% more cultural goods and services.
That's it. It suggests that while cultural engagement is definitely recovering, it's still, running up against these cost of living constraints for the average family.
And that probably explains the regional differences we still see.
Absolutely. The report is very clear on this. Families in the north and center of Italy spend notably more on culture than those in the south.
So culture risks becoming a bit of a luxury good when budgets get tight.
It can be. But despite those pressures, the sheer willingness of people to participate is just soaring.
Right, participation in activities outside the home grew 12% in just 1 year. It's now at over 35% of the population.
People are making the effort to get out. They're choosing to return to shared experiences.
And we saw that across the board, didn't we? Concerts, theater, museums.
All up around 10% or more. Concerts had a remarkable 10% bump. Theater was close behind at 7.7. It just confirms that desire for, in-person cultural connection is as powerful as ever.
Okay, so the consumer is back. But does the industry have the capacity to support them? What about the labor market?
Well, the cultural employment sector did return to 825,000 people in 2023, which is a growth of 1.2%.
That's a good sign.
It is a good sign, but it's critical to remember it still hasn't reached the overall pre-pandemic employment numbers. And what's more, specialized cultural professions.
You mean like conservators, high-level museum managers?
Exactly, or even technical staff. They're facing distinct challenges, especially in attracting and retaining talent in the wealthier northern regions.
So there's a recovery in jobs, but at the same time, a structural challenge in securing the specialized skills you need to maintain, 40% of the world's heritage.
That's a long-term problem for sure.
Meanwhile, it seems like private funding is stepping up.
It is. The Art Bonus initiative, that's the one offering tax incentives for private donations, it's booming. It reached 900 million euros in total donations by April 2024.
Wow.
And that private capital is becoming essential for preservation and modernization projects that, state funding might not be able to cover.
And all of this investment is fueling what you could call the ultimate cultural product. Tourism. The 2023 figures for international tourism were tremendous. Arrivals up 16.4%.
And specifically, cultural tourism was the massive engine there. We're talking 18.7 million international tourists coming specifically for culture.
And what did they spend?
They contributed 17.8 billion euros to the economy. That really set the stage for the figures coming out of 2024, which are, well, they're truly record-breaking for the
Yeah.
state-run sites.
Let's let these numbers really sink in. We're talking about 60 million visitors to Italy's state-run museums and archaeological parks.
60 million. That's a 5.3% increase over the previous year.
And the revenue hit an astounding 382 million euros.
That revenue number is up 23% in 1 year. That 60 million visitor number, it doesn't just surpass the old high of 54 million from 2019. It shows that the demand for these historical giants, the Colosseum, the Uffizi, Pompeii, it's basically inelastic.
They're global destinations that just transcend economic cycles.
They really are.
So the economic engine is fully engaged. It's generating record revenue. But as you said earlier, you can't just sustain this by selling more tickets. This boom has forced a necessary structural conversation.
It has.
And that brings us to part two, this radical reform of how Italy values its cultural assets. This is the monumental shift starting in 2026.
It is a fundamental change. It shifts the entire philosophy of management. Instead of treating cultural heritage as basically a cost center,
Something that costs money to maintain.
right, they are reframing it as a sustainable investment. And the core change is moving away from valuing assets based on historical cost toward measuring something they call use value.
Okay, let's break that down because it's a massive accounting and political shift. Under the old system, historical cost was pretty straightforward.
Very. It was just, how much did it cost to build the asset, or how much have we spent maintaining it? It's all backward-looking.
Snapshot of expenses.
Exactly. The new approach is forward-looking. It's strategic. The value of an asset will now be determined by the cash flows it's projected to generate in the long term.
How long term are we talking?
At least 15 to 20 years.
15 to 20 years of projected cash flow for, say, a Roman amphitheater. That sounds incredibly complex. I mean, how do you even model that for a 2,000-year-old ruin? Doesn't that introduce a lot of subjectivity?
It introduces complexity, for sure, but it also enforces discipline. And the subjectivity is managed by requiring these rigorous long-term projections and by defining two crucial categories of revenue.
And this changes the politics of it all.
Immediately. Instead of a politician asking, how much did we lose maintaining this museum last year? They now have to ask, what revenue and economic impact will this asset generate over the next 2 decades?
A completely different question. So what are these two revenue streams they're defining?
So first, you've got the direct revenues. This is the obvious stuff, the cash sources right at the site. Ticket sales, building rents, museum merchandising.
Easy to track.
Very. But the true game changer is the formal recognition of indirect revenues.
The spillover effect.
Precisely. Indirect revenues capture the entire ancillary economy that only exists because the cultural asset is there.
So you're talking about the tourism-related parking fees, the local restaurants.
The specialized craft shops, the hotels that are full every single night, all of it.
That makes perfect sense. The value of the Colosseum isn't just the ticket. It's the thousands of jobs and businesses it supports within a 2-mile radius. That's the use value they're trying to capture.
And that recognition allows for smarter categorization of assets. The reform separates operational assets, like a functioning municipal library, from non-operational assets.
Which are things preserved just for their intrinsic historical value, like the ruins of Pompeii.
Exactly. And a historic building could even be both. A historic palazzo is non-operational, but if a local government uses its wings for, say, administrative offices, parts of it become operational.
That distinction is key for the balance sheet. But the real headline-grabbing power here comes from the valuation itself, doesn't it? It uses 3 criteria.
It does. Market value, replacement cost, and the key driver, the value of use. And this last metric is based directly on the economic and social benefits generated, often measured by visitor numbers and ticket sales.
And this is how we get to that staggering figure our sources highlighted. Under this new calculation, some of these assets could see their registered value just explode.
Correct. For example, estimates suggest an asset like the Borghese Gallery in Rome could see its official economic value, calculated this new way, approach 1 billion euros.
1 billion euros.
Yeah.
That is a figure that completely changes how you perceive that piece of heritage. It's not just a beautiful, expensive liability anymore.
No, it's a billion-euro driver of long-term economic activity for the entire city. It's the ultimate quantification of public benefit.
And there are others set for this revaluation.
Right, yes. Major assets like the Sforza Castle in Milan, the Egyptian Museum in Turin, the Ancient Theater of Taormina. By putting this massive use value on the public balance sheet, decision makers are forced to prioritize long-term sustainability.
It's a fascinating, powerful structural shift. But if we're talking about long-term value and use, let's pivot away from the financial accounting and talk about human value, because our sources highlight another radical application of culture.
Using beauty to heal.
Exactly.
This moves us into a really profound social application. It's a project in Rome called Art e Salute, Art and Health. And the scientific premise is just simul. It's deeply moving.
What is it?
Research shows that seeing a piece of truly beautiful artwork can stimulate the exact same areas of the brain that are associated with seeing a loved one.
Wow, so the impact is visceral, not just intellectual.
And the research goes further. It suggests that regular cultural engagement, visiting exhibitions, attending concerts, can actually slow down the aging process and delay the onset of various health problems.
So this is moving culture from just a simple distraction to a recognized clinical tool.
That's the goal. The project isn't cosmetic. It is a conscious, structured integration of art into medical care to genuinely improve quality of life for everyone involved, patients, caregivers, and the healthcare workers themselves.
What's the measurable therapeutic impact of bringing visual art into these, typically sterile environments?
It measurably reduces anxiety and depression in patients. It also helps with communication between doctors and patients because it gives them a neutral, positive focus point.
And it must help the staff, too.
Critically, it increases staff satisfaction, which reduces burnout. And our sources confirm all of this leads to an improvement in overall therapeutic and pharmacological effectiveness, especially in tough areas like oncology.
I can imagine. It must change the whole dynamic of walking into a hospital room. So how are they actually implementing this in Rome?
Well, they're starting by selecting specific hospitals and then coordinating with local museums. They're installing high-definition video monitors in departments where patients spend a lot of stressful time.
So like oncology, dialysis units, day hospitals.
Exactly. And these monitors are being transformed into what they call digital paintings.
A digital stream of heritage. What kind of content are they showing?
It's immersive. It displays Rome's vast cultural heritage, high-resolution artwork, from museum collections, historical footage, documentaries, even calming music. The idea is to turn a monotonous, high-anxiety space into a digitally integrated gallery of the city's heart.
That's a fantastic use of technology to democratize access, especially for people who can't leave the hospital.
And it's not just passive. The project also includes organizing small, real-life exhibitions in hospital areas and facilitated museum visits for patients when it's possible. And most importantly, it's all grounded in rigorous study.
So it's not just a feel-good thing.
Not at all. They are conducting a formal medical scientific study using questionnaires to analyze the data on anxiety levels and well-being. This is a tested intervention, not just interior design.
It redefines what cultural infrastructure even means. It's just as essential as medical infrastructure. Now, moving from that structured therapeutic use to more spontaneous engagement, let's look at how this energy is being consumed right now.
Both digitally and physically.
We've seen the economic engine roaring back, and now we're seeing a new generation driving this grassroots cultural renaissance online.
On platforms like TikTok, of all places.
It's genuinely surprising. We hear so much about Gen Z's attention spans, yet our sources detail this massive, authentic movement where young creators are using the rapid-fire language of Reels to make Italian history go viral.
Under the hashtag Story Italiana.
It's a spontaneous pop archive. It's totally divorced from any, traditional government or institutional channels.
And creators are blending this high-quality, authentic archival footage with trending audio, quick cuts, and sometimes these stunning AI-generated visuals to recontextualize figures like Dante or events like the Risorgimento.
They're making history feel immediate and emotionally charged, not like a chapter in a textbook. It's all the major historical touch points. Ancient Rome, the Renaissance presented as living drama.
And what's crucial is the tone. Our sources emphasize that politics are largely absent. The focus is overwhelmingly on a shared, deeply felt sense of heritage.
And it's global.
Completely. You scroll through the comments and you see questions and praise in English, French, Portuguese. This is heritage marketing that money just can't buy.
It's memory merging with creativity in these seconds-long clips. It's a new kind of national pride that resonates internationally. So that's the digital pulse. Now, how does that connect back to the physical, public manifestation of spontaneous art?
For that, we go to the Ferrara Buskers Festival in Emilia-Romagna.
Ah, yes.
If the viral videos represent instant digital connectivity, this festival is the ultimate expression of raw, spontaneous, in-person creativity. Ferrara becomes, for a short time, the world's largest open-air stage.
The historic center is completely closed to traffic, right?
Yeah.
Transforming these ancient streets into an urban theater.
And the scale is just staggering. 800,000 spectators come to watch 1,000 performers from over 35 countries. You can have up to 60 different acts performing simultaneously.
And the model is radically democratic.
It really is. The busker model relies entirely on the generosity of the crowd. No artist gets a fee or a salary. They rely solely on tips, on passing the hat.
It creates an immediate personal connection between the audience and the performer.
And the repertoire is wonderfully diverse. Everything from classical and jazz to experimental sounds, rare folk instruments, poets, acrobats, jugglers, the whole lot.
You know, that model embodies the concept of use value perfectly, doesn't it? The artist's worth is instantaneously determined by the social and emotional benefit they deliver to the crowd.
Measured by the coins in the hat.
Exactly.
Both the viral hashtag and the Buskers Festival show that whether the medium is a phone screen or an ancient cobblestone street, the demand for engagement with Italian culture is enormous, and it just keeps evolving.
So let's summarize what we've uncovered in this deep dive. Italy's cultural sector isn't just surviving, it's aggressively rebounding. It's setting record tourism and revenue figures and achieving critical mass.
And underpinning that economic strength is this massive structural reform, defining asset value based on long-term cash flows and strategic use value.
And at the same time, we're seeing this heritage being deployed for profound social good, from clinical therapy in hospitals to driving national identity through a global digital movement.
The intention behind that 2026 reform is really the most compelling takeaway for me. By shifting the focus from historical cost, what a museum was, to use value and long-term generated cash flows, what a museum will be, Italy is strategically linking culture to the national, political, and economic agenda.
Which raises an important question for you, the listener.
It does. If the true quantified value of cultural heritage is now explicitly tied to the economic and social benefits it creates, whether that's millions in tourism revenue, the measurable reduction of patient anxiety, or driving national identity via a viral hashtag, what new political or economic choices will be prioritized when even a short video or a piece of hospital art can be measured by its long-term societal use?
Something to mull over as you consider the monumental and increasingly measurable value of beauty. That's it for this deep dive.